Hello, my name is Mr. Rex, and I have been making YouTube videos for over 10 years. Or at least I used to, seeing that before this video it has been a whole 7 months since I last uploaded a video, which it's probably one of the longest stretches of time that I've had without a video on the channel. So I figured, rightfully so, you guys are probably wondering just what the hell is going on, and so I'm here to tell you just how writing a 5th edition adventure for D&D killed my YouTube channel. Now that does sound very dramatic, and to be fair, it probably is. So the real question, I suppose, is whether or not that is a clickbait title, and the answer though is that I don't know. Hence the title. I guess a channel ultimately dies when you all stop watching or I stop posting, and well, I did stop posting for about 7 months, but the question truly is here whether or not the algorithm has had it with me. I mean, everyone knows that the algorithm basically savagely beats you whenever you stop making consistent content, and well, I haven't been very consistent as of late. Here is a graph of the daily views on my channel for the past 4 years, and each of the spikes here is basically a video being uploaded by me. I started writing my campaign about here, and so you can immediately see just how drastic the change has been from there in terms of just the number of videos that I uploaded from that moment onwards. But let's back up a little bit. So about 2 years ago, I released my Kickstarter for Sands of Doom. I am sure that you all remember I promoted the hell out of it on my channel at the time. Now it of course successfully funded, and well, at least as far as you guys were concerned, that was that. Seeing as I didn't do much in terms of promotion here on the channel. The truth is that I have been working on the book for the past 2 years. Unlike other content creators who oftentimes have the majority or at least a large portion of the book finished by the time that they actually do the Kickstarter, I did not. In fact, the reason why I did the Kickstarter in the first place was because I needed the funds to actually begin the process of writing it. YouTube has always been my main source of income, and I knew that making content here would take a big hit if I were to start writing a book. In other words, I simply could not afford to take the time to write it. I was of course blown away by the overwhelming support that I received from you guys for the project, and well, for the past 2 years I have been able to use those funds to sustain that writing process, to get some of the most talented artists that I could find to make that dream project a reality, and above all, to be able to do it without that looming anxiety of having to meet some arbitrary deadline or hurt any of the content by basically rushing it. Like any true fan of Dungeons & Dragons, or perhaps really any tabletop RPG, my dream was to write a book. And after 2 years of hard work as the sole main writer, endless nights of layout and editing, the sacrifice of so much that I had built up in here on YouTube in terms of consistency, my potential long-term livelihood, advertisers, algorithms, etc., I did it. I can't believe I'm even saying it, because it just feels so weird to say it. It has been so long that at times it just felt like it would never happen. Sands of Doom, my 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons campaign for characters level 1 to 11, is complete. Though hopefully I am wishing it doesn't come at too high a cost. I don't know what I would do without you guys, and only time will tell how dark a price this will have costed me. I don't know how the algorithm is going to treat me. It's been so long, 7 months like I said, since I last uploaded a video, that I'm just hoping that you guys are still here. And I mean, everyone that sells content for Dungeons & Dragons knows that you don't really go into adventure writing for the money. See, this is the thing. If you were to grab the entire audience of Dungeons & Dragons consumers, and then you were to figure out who really would want to buy a D&D pre-made adventure, you would find that that audience is far, far more smaller than you would think. I mean, like, just think about it. Who really buys pre-made adventures? Well, that's usually dungeon masters, not players, because it is, after all, the DM who will run it. Then you have to wonder, well, what is the split between DMs and players within the overall community? Many put that number as low as 20, maybe even 15% of the overall community being actual dungeon masters. So from those who may buy your book, you've already splintered your consumer base by a fifth. But then you have to wonder how many of those DMs will actually run pre-made adventures. Now, I don't know the stats for this, but I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that the majority of DMs prefer to homebrew their own campaigns from scratch. And at least anecdotally, that makes sense. Sure, they may borrow things from other adventures, but overall, most DMs seem to prefer to make their own stuff. But just for the sake of argument, even if you were to say that a whole 50% of DMs enjoy buying and running pre-made adventures, that already splits any potential customers from that 15 to 20% figure down to maybe 6, maybe even 10%. In other words, out of all of the Dungeons & Dragons fans, your market demo for those who may buy your 5th edition adventure can be as low as 6, maybe 10% of the entire player base. Now that's crazy rough. If you want to make written content for D&D and you want people to buy it, people know you make player options. I mean, basically anything with a subclass or tools that players can use for the games, that's what you're supposed to make. That is because ultimately anything that a player can use, a DM can also use. And so you are able to retain nearly 100% of the player base as potential consumers. And that is why Wizards of the Coast releases so much of that content. Even when they make campaign setting books, they always have player facing content. So going back to my original statement, creators don't make D&D adventures for the money. There are way better and frankly easier ways of doing that. But all of this is to say that it is scary. It is very scary to have invested just so much of my blood, sweat, and tears on a project like this, and I don't know what will happen next. Whether I will be able to seamlessly just go back to making consistent content and have, me be able to retain the views that I used to get, to make sure that the algorithm is, pushing my videos, that I'll be able to have the same living that I used to. But that's what a love for the game does to a man, I guess. I mean, it is a passion project. I feel like my soul has been made bare by this project. And even though it is scary, I could not be happier. Now, all of that being said, I do want you all to know that I will be returning back to making content. There will be a hiccup here and there, I'm sure, as I get my groove back, as I should probably call my editor. I haven't talked to him in months, but things will get back to normal. That I can promise. And hopefully, everything will be all right. But now that we have gone over all that, well, let's talk about the Hierophant in the room. Here. This is Sands of Doom. Feels cheesy to say, but man, it feels like my life's work after working at it for so long. It is 360 pages long, so already far more content than most adventures, and I also wrote it using a size 9 font, like the original 5th edition books, rather than the bigger fonts that they use now, so there's already more content on each individual page, such as it is. And as you can tell, it is a desert-based adventure, which surprisingly is severely lacking in official modules. We don't really get those for some reason. Now, we have roughly 3 chapters dedicated to the campaign setting and 8 chapters of story content. As many of you know, the framework of the story was inspired by Red Hand of Doom, one of the best adventures ever made by Dungeons & Dragons, and in that adventure, the passage of time was very important. That particular factor I wanted to retain for my book, so in Sands of Doom, you track the days that pass in the adventure, and certain events happen during specific days. Some villains have goals that they will seek to accomplish, and how far they go into accomplishing them depends on what day it is in the adventure. You also have locations that, depending on the day, that location might be approachable or not, or the location might not even be there at all. I always love the idea of a world that lives and breathes without you needing the direct interaction of the players, but also without necessarily mandating them to hurry. It is not about be there now or fail. It's more about knowing where the villain is. What is he doing there? And where will he go next? To further hit on the style of the adventure, Sands of Doom is a very gritty story. It is an adult story. It is a story of war, and I didn't want to shy away from the darkness of war. Not just in the written narrative, but in the art too. Whether that is crucifixions or parents grieving their children, the true horrors that can happen in war, publishing this book myself with your support, frankly, allowed me to not have to wash away much of what can sometimes get lost in big publishings. I could showcase dark monsters and stay true to their lore, write stories for them that would reflect just how such stories would actually transpire in the fables and legends from which they come from. But it's not all just darkness, of course. Desert stories and the type of magic that one can find in them are some of the first and most interesting types of fantasies that we have in this medium, in this type of genre. For example, like in Sands of Doom, we have an entire appendix just dedicated to the unbreakable laws of wishes, fundamental principles that no genie can break. We also have an appendix dedicated exclusively for players to barter in the Grand Bazaar for magical items, with a long list of enchantments and wondrous trinkets, all of them with their prices given. All in all, Sands of Doom has both dark and gritty, as well as wonder and splendor. This all, of course, comes included with all of the dedicated rules that you would need for traversing the Great Dunes and all of the associated dangers that one could find within, whether that would be quicksand, sandstorms, mirages, creatures of myth and legend, fabled artifacts, beautiful oases. I wanted to make sure that even if you were already running your very own desert adventure, or after you finished running Sands of Doom, there was a lot of stuff in here that you could always use in any and all of your present or future adventures that you play in the desert. So, Sands of Doom is currently printing. I wanted to make sure that even those that were not able to back the original Kickstarter and happen to miss that there is a pre-order store were able to get in on that first printing, since it might be frankly some time before I would be able to make a second printing run of the book. So basically, if you want a hardcover version of the book soon, if you want to grab any of the associated add-ons, you can still do so. But we don't have a lot of time before I have to basically close it in order to give the printer a final number for them to print. Now, I should say, if you're tight on money right now, that is perfectly fine. We will have future printing runs of the book, so please, there's no need to stress out. We will have more and you will be able to access the book later on. But if you do want to get it on that first printing run that is happening now, then know that we're basically locking it in about 3 or so weeks. You can find the link to the pre-order store below in the video description. Now, over here in the pre-order store, in addition to the hardcover book, we do have the Sands of Doom DM screen. We have a map pack that includes all of the battle maps for the final chapter of the book. We have an official soundtrack for the adventure, which has 18 songs that you can use for the game. So, think combat music, theme songs, music flavored for a lot of the important locations of the book. By the way, super shout out to Travis from RPG Music Maker who made the soundtrack. His link will also be in the description down. He did a phenomenal job helping make Sands of Doom come to life with the soundtrack, so huge shout out to him. We also have a deck of cards with most of the unique magic items from the adventure, most of which are very plot-heavy items that can be very nice to have, like in a physical card, so that players can hold and read. We also have the collector's edition for the Sands of Doom hardcover book, which has gold-tipped pages, a bookmarker, and a unique cover featuring the bearer of the Ruby Eye, part of which will have a holographic finish to it. It's meant to be really nice. The collector's edition will only be part of this first printing, so after this run, it will just not be sold again. And also, if you're a fan of my Monster Classes series, do know that the extra Monster Classes option here in the pre-order store is basically Monster Classes 1, 2, and 3, all put together and printed in a single softcover book. So if you ever wanted those in a book format, then this is here for you. You can of course click on any and all of these items to see a description of them and of course see pictures of what's in them. Now, the pre-order store is there for you primarily if you want to get the printed stuff. This is currently the only way to do it if you want a physical product. For the PDF, however, if you want a PDF of Sands of Doom: The Adventure, you can choose to buy it either here from the pre-order store or get it from my normal web store at mrrex.store. If you're only interested in the PDF version of Sands of Doom, then I do recommend buying it from my normal store because you'll basically get the PDF immediately after you purchase it. Whereas in the pre-order store, it might take like 1 or 2 days for you to get it. Now, do know that you do get a free PDF version of the book if you buy the normal printed, like hardcover version of the book, so you don't have to buy it twice. Though again, it might just be delayed for a few days since you would have to buy it on the pre-order store. Oh, and also, and this is huge, by popular demand, regardless of how you get the book, whether you get the normal version, the collector's edition, or where you get it, when you get the PDF for Sands of Doom, you also get a full suite of digital assets from the book, all in separated and easy to use files. So basically you get access to all of the region maps, both GM and player versions. You get all of the battle maps, both with grid and without grid. You also get a bunch of art for the NPCs, so like their portraits, important illustrated moments or scenes from the book that can serve as handouts for you to give to your players, all that good stuff. This was not part of the Kickstarter at all, but so many of you requested it, so you get all of it. It seemed like it would make you guys really happy, so I wanted to make sure that you would all have access to all the art that you needed. Oh, and I should also mention for my European brethren out there, I have made sure that your shipping costs to Europe are not absolutely insane. I had to jump through so many hoops, got on call with so many tax companies. I had to shed quite a bit of money, and I had to enlist an entirely new fulfillment center. But I was able to find a way to actually do shipment to Europeans from within Europe. So basically what that means is that you just don't have to pay those insane shipping fees that I know many of you usually pay whenever you back a Kickstarter. You still have to pay VAT. I can't avoid that, but the VAT for books is very, very small compared to basically other types of products. So books don't tend to be taxed quite as much. But yeah, I was able to get your shipping fees similar to what most Americans or Canadians usually get. So please just don't feel dissuaded by some of the bad experiences that I'm certain that you have had with other projects on Kickstarter. I have a lot of European fans, so I know the struggle, and I worked hard to make sure that you were not left behind. So once again, the link to the pre-order store is in the description, where you can get all of the physical stuff for Sands of Doom, like the hardcover version of the book. And the link to my normal store is also there in the description if you're only interested in getting the PDF version of the book. Now, I just want to take some time to just thank you guys so much. Just for being here, just for watching the videos. I always say, and it is true, that the best support that you can possibly give me is to just watch the videos. Even if you don't have the money to buy the book or anything like that, just watching the videos and liking and commenting on them is honestly the best kind of support that you can give me. And to pay it back, I will make sure to get back onto the rhythm of making content for you guys. I have been itching so bad to return, so thank you all just for being here and being awesome. I hope to still see you all there soon.